is Pickswise Playbook Week 14. Can you believe it? I am your host, Chris Rose. We've got our gambling expert, the one and only Jared Smith, and our former resident offensive lineman, Ross Tucker, who is back to wearing his Pickswise gear because it must be laundry day in the Tucker household.
Yay! You know what? This Pickswise shirt is like, this is the whitest thing I've ever worn. I feel like I'm like an astronaut or something.
It's actually you can view it from outer space, actually.
So actually, in order of them picking, it was going to be Strahan and then you for Astronautville?
Probably.
Would you go into space if they asked you to go up?
I don't know. I'd have to really think about that. I'm pretty conservative. I'm not adventuresome. I don't know. I'd want to see 5 other people do it first.
Have to get that helmet around there. I feel your pain, but you know it would take some extra money there to build that thing.
Yeah, you guys could get the 2-for-1 on the I guess the Groupon on the astronaut helmets based on the size of your domes, guys. All right, let's put those big brains to work. Once again, we are here to make your Thursdays, your Sundays, your Mondays more enjoyable. And how do you make them more enjoyable? Not only do you root for your team and your fantasy team, but you win money, okay? So we want to put that dough in your hands. It's very simple. Plus, once again, we are giving away a free $100 for you. You don't have to do anything except follow the following instructions. On our YouTube channel, comment of your number one best bet. Okay, Pickswise is going to randomly select a subscribing commenter who won their best bet, and we will send you $100. All you have to do is enter that best bet on our comments section by Sunday at 12:30 Eastern. So the Thursday game is out of the mix. We're going to be breaking it down a little bit later in the show and also give you the anytime touchdown and tell you how you can win $100 there. But as far as this goes, you can pick from the Sunday or the Monday slate. Everybody understand that? Sometimes I feel like I don't do a good enough job explaining it. Ross, do you understand it?
Totally got it. Everybody knows the rules. Everybody goes and subscribes to our YouTube page and makes a comment. Those are the rules.
Yeah, comment.
Not after the game ends either.
Yeah. By the way, I got to make a comment. I apologize for I'm having a shitty hair day. So I didn't know exactly what to do with it. I'm kind of in. Do I get a cut now or not? Do I
Ross
wait
has
for
a nice looking cut. He looks really fresh. You got that.
I got a cut
fade
on Monday, and I trimmed my beard, looking way better than I did last week. Thank you for noticing, Jared.
You're welcome, bud. You're welcome.
Oh, this is sweet. I love it. We're off to a great start. Also, don't forget to download the Pickswise app. It's available on Apple and Google Play Store for more betting insights on every major sport, not just the NFL. They cover everything. All the bowl games, college hoops, NBA, NHL, whatever is there. It's there for the taking. But let's do a deep dive now into Week 14. And we start with one of the tastier games this weekend. The Bills and the Bucs, and the champs are favored by right around a field goal. We saw, listen, I've already checked the stats. Tom Brady's already thrown more than 3 times, and they haven't even kicked the game off. So am I seeing this? Are you guys on opposite ends of this thing, Ross Tucker?
We are, but what's interesting is, and this is not an example of jaredsfakelines.com, because earlier in the week, I took the Bucs when they were laying 3. The number's now 3.5, and Jared likes the Bills getting the hook. I guess my question is, which I don't really ask on the show, but I feel like it, so I'm going to. Jared, would you have taken the Bills -3, or did you need the hook?
I mean, I think I feel pretty good about the Bills this week. I think I would have taken them at 3, but once I saw the 3.5, and it actually kind of moved around a little bit. So I saw a 3.5 on Sunday before the Monday night game. And then the Monday night game happened, and I was actually surprised it reopened 3. So even despite the fact that the Bills played really poorly on Monday night, the hook kind of evaporated on Monday. You grabbed the 3 with Tampa. Now it's drifting back towards Tampa, and that's because I'm seeing a ton of handle come in on Tampa this week. No surprise. After what the public saw against the Bills, Tampa looked great last week. I'm not surprised that the public is backing Tampa really hard in the early week stages. But I think this is kind of a buy low spot for Buffalo. And I'm worried about Tampa's secondary. Buffalo goes from that brutal weather game. Now they're in sunny Tampa. They should be able to throw the ball a lot more. Tampa stops the run. That's fine. Buffalo's not going to try to run the ball. And the Bills, 5-1 against the number, 4-2 straight up as a dog over the last 2 years. They relish this spot. I think this is a good buy low spot for Buffalo. I think they bounce back this week.
So I feel the opposite. I think Monday was a demoralizing loss for the Bills. Not only that, it was a physically demanding loss. Chris referenced the 3 pass attempts by the Patriots. I think the Bills got beat up in that game. I think they got beat up badly. Now they got to go on the road against a really good Bucs team before they have to come back and play the Patriots again soon. I just think it's a bad spot for the Bills. I don't like it for them at all. I like the Bucs laying the 3.
Hard to believe. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers could clinch their first NFC South title since 2007. They need to win and a little bit of help as well, but it could happen.
Wow.
Already division champ. And by the way, this is a huge game for the Bucs too. They can smell that 1 seed. You know, the Packers have a couple of real interesting games against the AFC North contenders down the line. So the Packers are going to be playing some interesting ball. I know this week they're taking on the Bears, and we'll talk about that momentarily. But I think the Bucs are sitting there saying, there's a possibility we aren't going to have to leave our state until we go play in the Super Bowl out in LA. So this is a big, big deal for them.
It is.
Don't worry about a letdown or anything for that. And by the way, they've been so good at home. They're 4-1 against the spread, 5-0 straight up at home. The Bills 2-4-1 in their last 7 against the spread.
Wow. Who do you like here, Chris? You're leaning towards Tampa a little bit.
I just point out numbers, guys. Okay. You can make your picks.
Can I add one more number? The Bills haven't lost 2 in a row all year. In fact, since week 5, it's been win-loss, 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 win-loss. It's been a fascinating back and forth with this Buffalo team. They look bad, and then they look good, and they look bad, and they look good. This is I don't want to say it's their season, but they're gonna struggle to make the playoffs if they don't string together some wins pretty soon. So their backs are against the wall too. I know Tampa wants that 1 seed, but Buffalo's going to be – I think they're going to get their best effort. That defense was pissed off after that game on Monday night. I think they're going to play well this week.
Would have been nice if they were more pissed off during the game on Monday night when the Patriots were running the ball all over them, 227 yards with 5 minutes left in the third quarter. They weren't even trying to throw. They should have had some of that energy for the game when Ramondre Stevenson and Harris were running them over.
That was one of the worst game plans I've ever seen Sean McDermott cook up. He needs to be better this week.
Wow. Okay. Let's get to the Sunday nighter, and I'm shocked that NBC did not flex out of this game, but I guess it's just because of Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, and the Bears are a big market, so they're rolling the dice there. The good news for Chicago, they're getting their prize rookie Justin Fields back. He did suffer some cracked ribs in that loss several weeks ago against the Baltimore Ravens that sidelined him, but he is going to be back. He's going to have protection on those ribs, but he's going against an outstanding defense and a team in Green Bay, which is playing some great ball. Packers are a double-digit home favorite here. Jared, do you like anything in particular?
Well, I'm going to do a 10-point teaser with this game. I haven't done a 10-point teaser officially on the show this year except for Thanksgiving, but we're going to
All right, so what does that – quickly, what does that mean, a 10-point
We're going to do – usually we do 2 teams, 6 points. Now we're doing 3 teams, 10 points. So at this stage of the year, the reason that I actually do tend to look at them more, first of all, shout out producer Jack. He's been killing these all year. But now that the lines are pretty sharp, 10 points, you're even getting more of an advantage, obviously. So the sharper the lines, the more you move the lines, the more of an advantage you have. And I do like, there's actually 3 spots that I love this week to move 10 points. This is one of them. We talk about Aaron Rodgers. This is all him. I own you, right? That was what he said at Soldier Field a few weeks ago. Well, he's right. And not only does he own them straight up, 22-5, but he's 20-7 against the number, which is really the more interesting part because we know that the Bears have been bad over the years and there's been a lot of big spreads. So there's only been 2 instances where the spread has even mattered in this game, where the Bears have covered but not won. So I think it's kind of a package deal. I think if Green Bay wins, they will cover this game. And I love moving it 10 points to under a field goal, -1.5, -2.5. I think this is a classic Aaron Rodgers in prime time against the rookie quarterback, which, by the way, that did not move the line at all once they went from Dalton to Fields. It pretty much stayed pat.
Ross, I know you want to hop in here a second, but if you're going to say the Aaron Rodgers line, I own you, you can't just throw it out like it's the middle of a conversation. You got to punch it a little bit.
I own you.
Hey, that's better.
That's what I was saying to Ross in the head-to-head matchups, but he came back this week and was 2-0.
I mean, we're doing 10-point teasers now. So 3 10-point teasers is still -110, Jared?
-120. Give it a whirl.
Oh, yeah, minus 120, I mean. Minus 120.
But I mean, that's what I pay for the 6 point. That's like the cheapest you can get a 6 point teaser these days, too, is laying 20 cents usually.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I almost never get near a line that's 12.5. I mean, if I take it, I'm going to take the underdog. I'm not going to lay those points. I don't have a lot to say about this game, to be honest with you, other than thank goodness Justin Fields is playing, because that greatly increases the entertainment value of the game for me. Like, I want to watch Justin Fields. I want to see how he plays. I don't care how Andy Dalton plays. I know how Andy Dalton plays. And I don't want to see Nick Foles. Like, I'm glad Fields is playing. I hope he plays well. I think more good quarterbacks, the better. But I have no idea what to do with this line or this game.
Well, I will say this, that the in the last 5 trips to Lambeau, the Bears are 0-5. They've been outscored by an average of 12 points, and that's right around where the line is. I don't know if that does anything for you. Once again, I'm just a numbers guy. Not telling you which way to go. Does that help you, Ross?
Packers win probably by double digits.
And it doesn't. I'm not going anywhere with that spread.
This is Fields' first trip to Lambeau, right?
Yes, he is still a rookie.
Yeah.
I do like the Packers on a 30-point teaser that's never been invented before, where the Packers are actually getting 18 points. I feel good about the Packers there. I will lay the 30-point teaser with the Packers at jaredsfakelines.com.
It's a specialty, actually.
Is that minus $1 million that you have to get that in? It's very interesting. By the way, the Packers, very much like the Bucs, they can clinch their division. All they need is a win, but they'll know, because if Minnesota loses tonight against Pittsburgh, Packers win. Packers are defending champs of the mighty North.
They took the odds down for that division. That's how much the books feel about Green Bay winning it. You can't even bet on it anymore at most sports books.
Interesting. All right, let's get to this is a fascinating game for me. The Niners and the Bengals, they still both hold playoff spots as we speak. The Niners couldn't get it done up in Seattle, and they lose another running back or two to injury. The Bengals, Joe Burrow said, my dislocated throwing pinky is going to be okay. So, Brandon Allen, you stay on the sidelines. I'm going to go here. It's right around a pick'em game. Here's the thing. I think San Francisco had a bad week last week up in Seattle. I was surprised they lost. The Bengals, I cannot wrap my head around these guys. One week, they're getting their ass kicked at home by the Browns. Another week, they're crushing the Steelers. Another week, they're down 24-0 against the Chargers. Ross, make sense of this.
No, I need Jerry to make sense of something first, because literally yesterday, I took the Bengals -1, and now as we're recording this, the Bengals are getting 1.5 points. A 2.5 point swing, that's huge. I want to make sure I didn't miss some injury information that came out, Jared. What am I missing here that there's been a 2.5 point swing in exactly 24 hours?
I'll say this. 2.5 points may seem like a lot, but in terms of the probability of who wins the game, for the Bengals to go from -1 to +1.5 is not a huge probability shift. So it's not as big of a move as it seems. If it goes from 1.5 to 3.5, then it's a big move. The 1 through 0 is not it's almost like kind of flipping a coin. So I don't know if it's anything significant. I just think it was some sharp action on San Francisco probably. I'm kind of split on this game. I originally liked Cincinnati. We've got the future on the Bengals to win the North at 4-1. That's still alive. Thank you very much, Pittsburgh, for beating Baltimore. And we've got the Niners that need to win out in order to hit my win total, which is probably not going to happen. That's a long shot at this point. So I think I'm kind of covered on both ends here. So I'm going to sit this one out. But if I had to pick a side, I would say the Bengals bounce back, because kind of like the Bills, they've kind of been a zigzag team this year. They win one week and then they let down the next week, and then everyone's talking bad about them, and then they bounce back. They're a very volatile team. So I would lean Cincinnati, and I think the San Francisco injuries in the secondary, they really cost them last week. Lockett and Metcalf finally kind of came alive a little bit, and Russ looked, decent. So I would lean Bengals here.
So I like the Bengals quite a bit in this game for a couple of different reasons. I don't think Deebo Samuel's going to play. I was impressed with the way the Bengals bounced back against the Chargers when they were down, whenever it was, 24-0. They're not going to have Joe Mixon have that fumble again, return for a touchdown, or Jamar Chase bobble a touchdown and hand it to the guy for an interception. That stuff just doesn't
Never
happen.
seen that before.
Meanwhile, for the Niners, that game against the Seahawks should not have been close. I mean, Gerald Everett was a double agent, okay, working behind the scenes for the Niners. I've never seen a guy like that. If you told me Gerald Everett was point shaving in that game, I would say,
God.
No way he is. There's no chance he would make it that obvious. There's no way he would make it that obvious if that's what he was doing. The guy gave the ball to the 49ers twice inside the 5-yard line and then had even a worse fumble other places in the game. I mean, that game, Seattle should have won that game by 3 touchdowns. The Niners are not the same without Deebo Samuel. I'm taking the Bengals.
Jared, I know that you say that running backs don't move the line, but what happens when you are down several running backs? You just mentioned Deebo. Obviously, that's the biggest one. We don't know about Elijah Mitchell. We don't know about Jeff Wilson. So at this point, Jermichael Hasty, like he's the healthiest running back. They just signed Brian Hill.
Yikes.
Kind of kicked around the league a little bit.
It's a bad situation. It really is. And it puts a lot of the onus on Jimmy Garoppolo. I still don't think it's going to move the line a whole lot. But it definitely is going to affect the game plan. And it's really hard to say, like, we kind of went that direction with Christian McCaffrey this year, where at first I was very kind of neutral on him missing time. I think a lot of that too was the Carolina ineptitude on offense, and we'll get to that team and the situation with Joe Brady this week. But, you know, you saw how big of a difference when a guy like McCaffrey, who does more than just carry the rock 25 times, the passing game, the blocking schemes, Deebo is such a Swiss Army knife that I would put a little more emphasis on a guy like him than I would a normal running back. And now, considering how thin they are, the secondary is big too. Mosley went out, and, you know, they've got Tart, I think, nursing something. Like, they've got issues in the secondary now where they got a little healthy and now they're banged up again. And I think this is a bounce back spot for the Bengals. If you're now getting some, you know, a little action there on the plus side of the line because some sharps took the Niners, I would, you know, be more inclined, I think, to bet Cincinnati.
You want to talk about secondary injuries, then let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens, who are on the road. They're going to take on the Cleveland Browns, and the Ravens are actually getting points, even though they are 2 games up on the Browns in the standings. Still hold on to the lead there in the AFC North. Ross, is it a question of, like, the Ravens have just been dealing with injuries ever since training camp, and at some point the dam is going to break?
It's not just that. I mean, they've had too many injuries. The Marlon Humphrey one is huge. They're already missing Marcus Peters. It's just unfortunate because I think the Ravens had a chance to be the number 1 seed, be one of the best teams in football this year. But they really have lost too much to be a realistic Super Bowl winner in my mind. But they're not playing as well either, right? I mean, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, they still don't have a great answer for when they are blitzed with an all-out blitz. Lamar Jackson's not playing particularly well. I thought he was the MVP of the league through the first half of the season. That has all changed really ever since he got sick, and missed that game against the Bears. They haven't been the same offensively. So for this game, I could probably lean Cleveland, but I like teasing the Ravens up. It's gonna be a close game. I don't see the Browns blowing out the Ravens. The Browns just don't seem like they're capable of blowing out anybody. They couldn't blow out the Lions. They can't blow out anybody. So I've got the Ravens teased up to +8. They're one of my teaser legs this week.
Yeah, it's definitely not a bad teaser leg, low total game through the key numbers of 3 and 7. I think it kind of fits into that nice little box. But in terms of the sharp money, I think this line flipped for a reason. Look ahead was Cleveland +1, and I think it could get to 3 from what I'm seeing, which I think would be a pretty significant move if it does get to 3. I would assume at 3 there'll be some buyback on Baltimore. Lamar Jackson has more picks than touchdowns since November 1st. 8 picks, 5 touchdowns. I mean, that in this day and age of this NFL, you cannot survive long-term if you throw more interceptions than touchdowns over a 2-month stretch. And we're kind of reaching that threshold now in the back half of the season, which is when you should be improving and getting better. Ross is spot on. The Marlon Humphrey injury is absolutely huge. And Cleveland off the bye. I mean, that, as a Browns fan, maybe you can speak to it. Stefanski didn't do well in this spot last year. They beat Houston in that weird low-scoring game. In fact, he's 0-2 against the spread in his 2 seasons as a head coach off the bye, one with Minnesota and one with Cleveland. So I'm curious how Cleveland bounces back. They had that weird game against them 2 weeks ago. I think Cleveland's a strong play, though, since the line movement's favoring me, and I think they'll be rested in this spot.
A couple of things to keep your eye on from the Cleveland standpoint. They are down several tight ends, and this is a tight end heavy team. That's how they get it done. I mean, the Ravens have a lot of injuries in the secondary. I don't know if Cleveland has this sort of personnel that can exploit that at all. They gave up on the running game a couple of Sundays ago, that Sunday nighter. Nick Chubb, 16 yards on 8 carries or something like that. Horrible. And you mentioned coming off the bye. I would look at it from the other standpoint. John Harbaugh in his career as the Ravens coach, his teams are 10-4 against teams coming off of a bye.
That's an interesting stat.
Is that a pat yourself on the back, Rose? Nugget?
No, I because I'm trying to deduce the angle there. Like, I guess it's harder to scheme for teams coming off the bye. I don't know. That's an interesting stat.
You know what, Jared? There's probably an explanatory trend in there somewhere.
There probably is. I got to figure it out. I got to get back into the lab. Cheers, Pickswise, everyone.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Dallas
Oh,
Cowboys.
my goodness. Did Jared just take a drink from the Pickswise cup?
Of course he did.
This guy is in.
Holy
This
smoke.
guy is
It's my
in.
water nice and cold. It's one of the, the Arctic cups.
Yeah.
I mean, only a loser would do that.
Branding.
That's ridiculous.
Branding.
Can we get to the NFC East battle? Please. Dallas Cowboys and the red-hot Washington football team that has won 4 in a row. They take care of business out in Vegas. They are back in this thing. Taylor Heineke's a ton of fun to watch. The defense somehow, without their best player in Chase Young, has turned it around. I don't get it. Dallas is a road favorite here. Ross, this is the battle of 2 of your former teams, right?
Yeah, I've started a couple of these games. I like Washington, although it looks like I got a bad number. The numbers fluctuated a lot. I got Washington plus 3.5. You can get them right now while we're recording at plus 4.5. You can get a full point more from the football team. Look, to me, it's pretty simple. Washington's won 4 games in a row. They're playing much better football, much better, as you mentioned, Chris, on the defensive side of the ball. Ron Rivera is a heck of a coach. This is what his teams do. They play better in the second half of the year. They play close games. You're giving me a team that has won 4 in a row at home, more than a field goal. I'm going to take it, especially against the Cowboys bunch that has not impressed me over the last month. I got the football team.
Yeah, the Cowboys defense scares me a lot here going forward. That's going to be the one thing to keep an eye on. Bookmakers say this is going to be the most publicly bet game of the week, at least so far in the early stage. And take a wild guess who the public loves this week. It's always the Dallas Cowboys. I think that's why the line's probably moved a little bit, and I would probably bet on it hovering in that 4 range for most of the week, especially if most of the handle continues to come in on Dallas. I would agree with Ross's take here. I think Washington as a home dog is the only way that I would bet this. I do not like Dallas's defense, and for that reason, when you don't like a defense, very hard to lay points on the road in a divisional game, no less, in that spot. So I think it's either Washington or pass in this spot, but only a slight lean for me here towards Washington.
Did one of you mention that during this 4-game winning streak that Washington is also 4-0 against the spread?
I didn't, but that's a good stat.
Well, for this show, that's kind of important.
We saved that for you.
Yeah, you're the numbers guy.
Well, that's true. That's true. You save the easy stuff for the dumbest guy on the show. So thank you guys. Appreciate that. AFC West battle. Got a lot of divisional battles this week. That's what makes this week really, really yummy for me. Raiders looking to bounce back. They're on the road in Kansas City. That's a place they won a year ago, so it can happen. The line has danced around double digits for the second straight week. Kansas City, a home favorite. They took care of business against the Broncos, even though I guess at some point, Ross, I'm going to just stop even bringing up the fact that Kansas City's offense is struggling. I don't know if it's now struggling or just is. Can you start with that?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think bring it up when they actually show that they can play well, which they did the last time they played the Raiders.
Right.
So therein lies the rub. Look, the Raiders have really struggled to score points. unless they can get the refs to call 27 pass interference penalties on Anthony Brown, they can't score over 20 points. So, and they're going against the Chiefs defense that's playing very, very well. Now, the Chiefs offense has struggled, as you referenced as well. This is a number game for me. If you get 10.5, I think you take the Raiders. Less than that, I'd probably lean Kansas City, but they're not really blowing anybody out. So I think I'd still take the Raiders no matter what, but it's not a play for me until it's over 10.
Yeah, weird game on Sunday night too with Denver. I mean, Kansas City's offense, did not play well, but their defense covered them a game. I mean, how often do we say the Chiefs' defense is why they covered a game in a relatively big spread in a divisional game? We haven't said that a whole lot in the last year or so. Maybe towards the end of the year we start to say it, because I think Steve Spagnuolo, eventually it's like Novocaine. Eventually that defense starts to settle in. They've played better towards the back half of seasons. They went on that great defensive run in 2019 when they won the Super Bowl. So I think this is a team that is scary, and I think their offense eventually will play better and will not get plagued by the bouncy, crazy, fluky turnovers. I would continue to back them, even though 2-3 weeks ago this line was 3 in Vegas. Now it's 10. I'm not betting this week, but I don't think I like Vegas's, demeanor and their style. I think they've really taken a downturn emotionally over the last few weeks because of all their off the field troubles. And I would either say Kansas City or pass here. I'm still very bullish on the Chiefs in the futures market. I think they're the best team in the AFC right now, top to bottom.
What is it about plus 150 that if a pass goes off of Tyreek Hill's hands and into the paws of a defender, that Patrick Mahomes' mom is going to tweet something?
Oh, did she tweet something on
Oh yeah,
I didn't
earlier this season after an interception, another interception. She goes, just for the record, that should not go on my son's record.
It does though. It does.
Yeah, it does, and it actually doesn't help anybody when she tweets that. But oh well. By the way, the Chiefs have not scored more than 25 points at home since opening day against Cleveland.
Wow.
Yeah,
they will
and
soon.
When you're talking about being a double-digit favorite, listen, we're just talking about a team having to score 2 touchdowns, and all of a sudden they're right in this thing. I don't know. Ross, not too impressed with that.
Not really, no.
Basically, Rose, shut up and move on?
Yeah, kind of.
Got it. AFC South. Oh, great. We get to talk about the Jags. Everybody's favorite team. They're on the road taking on the Tennessee Titans. So the Titans apparently have the easiest strength of schedule left, and they're going to be taking on a 2-win Jags team, and they're right around a double-digit home favorite here. The Titans, obviously, they've lost 2 in a row. They haven't looked great, but it's still Jacksonville. Is that what you say, Jared, or is it something else?
I don't say that. I use bigger words than that. Like explanatory and predictive. Those are the words we like to use here on the show. This is one of Ross's 30-point teaser spots. Getting the Jags from 9.5 to 19.5. So Mike Vrabel, in his time with the Titans, he's been great as an underdog. As a favorite of a touchdown or more, 3-6 against the spread, 7-2 straight up. So they win these close games, but they don't cover. One of those losses was this year to the Texans. And you're right, the Titans do have the easiest schedule down the stretch. The second easiest schedule down the stretch is the Packers. And ironically enough, please read Back to the Futures, my column this week on Pickswise.com. We invested on both of those teams in the futures market because of those reasons. Very easy schedules down the stretch. I think this is a good spot for Tennessee to get some of their swag back off the bye, but I don't think they're still at fully operational Death Star mode because a lot of their weapons are still out. So I think the Jags, coming off of a bad loss, this is kind of one of those thread the needle games. Titans by probably a touchdown, but I think it's pretty close.
It's interesting to see the line has come down to 8.5. It was 9.5 yesterday. I don't know, man. Look, the problem is with a spread like this, right? The Titans aren't really motivated to try to win by double digits. That's not their goal. Never once did I play in a game where before the game, the coach is like, all right, guys, let's win by 9.5. You know, like they've never said that. So I don't know. I don't know if the Jags are capable of a backdoor cover. I guess below 10, I guess I would lean Tennessee. Over 10, like Jared's fake teaser. I would lean to the Jags, but that's about all I have to say about this game. The issue with higher spread games is the team is not trying to cover the spread. They're just trying to win the game.
Especially the Titans off the bye with a lot. They lost their last. So, they're really just trying to win a game. Really.
Here's the one thing that would scare me, though, if I take Jacksonville on the points. The quarterback has not gotten much better. It just feels like he hasn't made significant strides. I know he's shown flashes where there's been games, even if his stats aren't there, that people are like, look, he's making better reads. He's making more decisive throws, all that sort of stuff. I don't think he's been coached well. I don't think he's been developed at all. I look at some of these other quarterbacks where I'm like, okay, I see it a little bit, right? I mean, Justin Fields, before the injury, we were like, he seems to be getting better, even if the team isn't. With Jacksonville, I cannot say that here, Ross. Am I missing something?
No, you're right. Even Zach Wilson looked better for the Jets against the Eagles this past Sunday. And Lawrence, they're gonna make some type of coaching change there, I would imagine, after the
They
year.
just made one. Another one? Is Urban going to quit? That whole situation.
Offensive coordinator, Jared. Offensive coordinator.
Okay, fair enough.
It's a shit show. Sorry.
No, it is. It
right,
is because does it
line.
land on Urban or does it not? That's the biggest question that I have probably not.
I don't know. That guy's getting a lot of dough.
Yeah, he is.
He doesn't have to listen to us to win it, though. He's already won. Lions and Broncos. Lions! Hey, Ross, were you happy for them? Were you happy for them? Dude,
you have no idea. It's funny to watch a game where it's like you really don't care, but you're really rooting for that. Like, Dan Campbell and I were teammates for a hot minute in Dallas before Parcells cut me. Their captain and middle linebacker on defense, Alex Anzalone, is from my hometown. I've known him since he was 4 years old. Like, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy to not win a game until December. No. I mean, they started OTAs and minicamp in March, and you don't win a football game till December. Thrilled for those guys, happy for them, and they deserve it. They're better than the Jags. They're better than the Texans. They just hadn't actually sealed the deal and won a game. That said, they're not going to win 2 in a row. They're not that good, especially not on the road against a good Denver defense. And Javonte Williams, who's an absolute monster of a rookie running back, which is why I am teasing the Denver Broncos down to -2, and it looks like Jared is as well. So Jared and I are sharing a brain on a real teaser, not a fake Jared 20-point teaser.
We love the 20-point teasers, man. Those are I can't wait for a book to actually give us those. I think other than the other teaser leg, which we'll get to in a little bit, I don't really have a favorite teaser like this week. I would put 1A and 1B with the second one we're going to talk about in a little bit. But low total game, Denver at home, off the loss. They were frustrated. They put together some decent stretches of that game against Kansas City, but turnovers in bad spots and a couple of fluky throws from Bridgewater that are very uncharacteristic for him. Usually he is very secure. He was not, and I think he'll bounce back. And again, at home, this is a tough environment. I mean, you saw the Chargers go up there a couple weeks ago and just get absolutely blasted. I know Detroit's a cold weather town, but this is a Lions offense with Jared Goff. That's definitely an indoor.
They're a dome team, dude.
Yeah, exactly. That was my next point, is that even though it's the Detroit, they are a dome team with Jared Goff. And I think this is a really good spot for Denver in a teaser through 3 and 7.
Very quickly, football point. You brought up Javonte Williams' name. I've got nothing against Melvin Gordon. He's been a good running back in this league for a while now. Why did it take an injury sustained by him for that Denver coaching staff to finally be like, oh, maybe that other guy should be getting the ball a lot more? Like, come on, guys. We've known this
because Gordon's pretty good. And they wanted
back this week, I heard.
They wanted to ease in Williams. Gordon's pretty good. They wanted to ease in the rookie. I mean, you're right. You are right.
He's a running back,
I'm just answering the question.
I know, but seriously, let's not overthink this. Out of all the guys, like, you want to get the ball in his hands, Javonte Williams is one of those guys.
Rose is feisty today, Ross. We got to be careful.
I'm sorry. There's some stuff that seems like so simple when you're watching the games, for goodness sakes. God. And I'll make one other point about the Lions real quickly. We watch all the games together, everybody that's working Sundays at NFL Network in a big theater room. When that happened, when Amon-Ra St. Brown catches the ball for the winner, the place exploded. One person in there was a Lions fan, just a known Lions fan.
Wow.
Everybody was so happy for them.
They're 8-4 against the number. They're 4-1 in their last 5 games against.
They are elite.
They are covering. They're good teams win, great teams cover. They are a great team, but somehow not a good team. I don't know.
I root for you guys to do well. I want you guys to do well, but it wouldn't kill me if the Lions.
You know what it would be great for if the Lions won again? My Texans' worst record bet is very much alive and well.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, they're doing everything they can to make sure you win that, brother.
Oh, we'll get to the Texans in a hot second here.
All right, let's get to an NFC South battle. The Falcons and Panthers, just a game out of the playoff chase. They're right there, kind of. All right, we talked about Joe Brady out as the OC there in Carolina. I don't know what to make of any of this, so I'll let Ross Tucker have the floor.
I like Atlanta. Looks like I got the better of the number. I got them when they were getting 3. The number's down to 2.5 while we're doing this. Carolina is in shambles. I mean, they fired the offensive coordinator and came out and said we want to run the ball better. Their O-line is not good. And they don't have Christian McCaffrey. This is another one for me, and I'll be consistent on this for the rest of the year. If it's a true toss-up game, where I think it's a 50-50 chance who wins the football game, and I can get 3 points or more, I'm going to take that team. That's my logic. It gives me essentially like a 60% chance of having a winning bet, getting the Falcons +3. Done. I
like it. Because he's right. If it is a toss-up game, about 10% of the games land on 3. So 50-50 plus 10%. There you go, Ross. There's your math right there, 60%. I agree. I don't have a play on this game, but if I did get 3, I would say Atlanta's the side. How great has Cordero Patterson been? I mean, goodness gracious. Awesome. And I guess, is this a new trend in the NFL, drafting receivers and then making them running backs? I mean, is that something that we're going to start seeing more of? Because there's guys that are in that category. I would put Tyreek Hill in that category. Maybe that's a way to spice up the Chiefs offense a little bit. But I think there's definitely ways to get him the ball that are very creative. Arthur Smith has figured out those ways. And I have no idea what's going on with the Carolina situation. That is bizarre with Joe Brady getting fired midseason. I know that they made a point about it, but I don't like that at all for the psyche of Carolina this week, even though they're coming off the bye.
It feels like it's been a decade since Cam won a game as a starter there. I know it hasn't been, but it just feels that way. So they're a mess right now. And it was so funny because everybody's like, hey, they're 3-0 this year. Look out for the Carolina Panthers. But here they are. They've won 2 games since then. Let's pick it up a little bit, boys. Giants and Chargers. Okay, so the Chargers have an impressive road win last week in Cincinnati where they jumped out to the 24-0 lead. Giants looked miserable down in Miami, but Miami's doing that to a lot of teams. It looks like they're now on their third different quarterback. Jake from State Farm is going to get his first NFL start, although the guy's never thrown.
Yeah, I wouldn't be so sure about that. They're acting like Glennon will get cleared from the concussion and start.
So now what do you do when we're not 100% sure at this point? I mean,
you don't bet a game if you don't know who the quarterback's going to be. That's my rule. Unless you can get a 25-point teaser from Jared, you don't bet the game.
Or a 10-point teaser that gets the Chargers to under 3. They're not losing to Mike Glennon. They're not losing to Jake Fromm. Here's who's not playing quarterback for the Giants, Daniel Jones. That's all you need to know in this particular spot. I don't think the book moves. I mean, maybe it moves a point or 2 from Glennon to Fromm, but that's not – I mean, there's not a huge gap there. So I would be very weary to look at anything Giants related until you know who the quarterback is. Maybe if you can get 10.5 knowing it's Glennon before the news gets announced, and then maybe it moves to 9.5. But I still think the Chargers at home are playing well, even though the home thing doesn't really matter for them. But I would lean on LA being able to get this win and taking another step towards the play. I think they kind of rejuvenated their season a little bit on Sunday in Cincinnati.
The only thing I worry about, I don't know. Ross, you kind of shot this idea down last week, though. that the Chargers have a Thursday night game coming up next week where they host the Kansas City Chiefs.
But no look-aheads, right?
That's not a look-ahead, right? Even
Not
though they know
thing.
it? Not a thing.
Not an actual thing in the NFL.
Okay. That's only a fan thing.
Correct.
Just making sure.
Sounds good in theory.
Something to talk about.
Yes.
By the way, I know that Jason Garrett's not laughing at anybody because he's been dismissed from his role. Jason Garrett wasn't the only problem there. This is a personnel issue. They have got major, major issues.
That's why they're going to trade for Russell Wilson in the offseason.
It's not a bad call. Can we get are there odds on that one, Jared, that we can get
There
someone?
will be probably in the offseason. I'm sure there will be. The books do like they're very difficult markets to bet because it's influenced so much by social media, which can make from some manipulation. But there will be markets on that, I'm sure, over the summer. Maybe we'll do a Pickswise Playbook offseason. We'll get an update on it.
I love it. Dude, we should do one on player movement. That would be
100%.
fascinating. I love that. But as of right now, Russell Wilson is still the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks, who are coming off a win. And I would be shocked if they didn't get a second straight one because they are down in Houston taking on the Texans. Seahawks are right around a touchdown road favorite here. Okay, Jared, you could start off with this one.
Yeah, this is all about the quarterback situation for Houston. I'm hearing split reps this week between Davis Mills and Tyrod Taylor. Taylor's wrist is a problem. Maybe he's going to sit even if the wrist is, 70%. Like, I don't know what the
threshold
threshold
is. Can I stop you
is.
there? Does it matter?
No, it doesn't matter. Actually, no, it does matter a little. If you were going to ask me healthy Tyrod Taylor or healthy Davis Mills, I think I take Tyrod Taylor. Absolutely. Can do a little bit more with his legs, a little tougher to game plan for. I'm sure that would move. I think that might move the line about a point or two. But don't quote me on that. Regardless, last week, the Colts really did a good job of shutting down this Texans offense. And I think we saw Seattle was spunky last week. They showed a little bit of fight. That's a tough Niners team that they beat up. There's no George Kittle running around this week for Houston. And I think if it is going to be Davis Mills, which it's leaning that way, and he's not taking the full reps in practice, for a guy like Davis Mills, he needs those full first-team reps. And if he's splitting them with Taylor, that's even more of a hindrance to him this week. So I think this is a prime teaser spot, 1A, 1B. The line in this spot was 10.5 before the Russ injury. So if you move it from 7 to 1, you're getting 9 full points on the line from just about 5 or 6 weeks ago before Russ got hurt. And I think Alex Collins will be back for the Seattle Seahawks this week, so that also helps. So I think Seattle's going to win this game. I like the teaser spot.
I love the Seahawks as a teaser. I don't understand why the Texans would play Tyrod Taylor at this point. Find out what you have in Davis Mills. Now that he sat out a few games, see how he plays the last 5 games. I don't see how it helps you to win many of these games anymore anyway. When you want the high draft choice, love the Seahawks as a teaser down to -1.
Okay, just for fun, you can only watch one of the following 3 teams the rest of the season play football. Only one. There are no other games on. This is it.
Definitely not the Texans. It's the Jaguars or the Lions.
I'm not even putting the Lions in that. The Lions are entertaining. They have entertained us. Are you not entertained by them?
All right, then the answer is probably the Jaguars.
Let them give the teams first.
Jaguars, Texans, Panthers.
Oh.
The Jags. The Jags.
I would go Jags. I would just want to see Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer.
Yes.
Do you want to see Urban Meyer kind of wear a headset, kind of not wear a headset, look like he's coaching football for the first time ever, that sort of stuff?
He looks miserable on the sidelines. Absolutely miserable.
He looks like he's not doing anything, and B, doesn't know what to do. It's amazing. Never felt that way when he was at any other place.
Ever. You were like, oh my God, this guy is so buttoned up on the sidelines. So few guys are on.
Why do you think that is, Ross? What did you forget how to coach the last 3 years? I don't understand.
I think he's kind of a fish out of water. I think the losing has him disoriented.
Yeah, he's not used to losing. I will say that. But don't you know that going in? You're coaching the Jaguars. You have to get ready to lose. Like, that would be a question I would ask in the interview. Like, how do you feel about losing? Can you handle it?
I think he knew that it would be a struggle, but he thought that he'd be able to help them win more games than this.
Naive.
These guys have a lot of confidence in their ability.
Yes, they do.
As they should.
Let's move on to a good Monday nighter, guys. Fun one. Rams, Cardinals. You'll remember that back in week 4, Arizona went into SoFi and crushed the Rams, beat them by 17, held Cooper Kupp to a season low in catches and in yards. Arizona's sitting at 10-2. They got Kyler and D-Hop back. They didn't throw it very much in that win in Chicago. Nobody seems to want to talk about them at all. And you know what? The line is, yes, Arizona's a favorite, but they're not a huge favorite here, Jared.
Yeah, just a good two-way action, too, in this game so far. Early in the week, I thought maybe Arizona would get a little more of the early love because they've been kind of the sexier team, and that was a hard-earned win in Chicago. That was a bad weather game. Kyler Murray was in his first game back in like a month, and they just executed and just operated their offense, their running game, their defense was top-notch. Cliff Kingsbury, if it wasn't for what Belichick is doing in New England, Cliff Kingsbury deserves, I think, to be coach of the year for winning those games without Kyler Murray and has looked impressive. And Arizona's a team to take really seriously. But the line movement is kind of pointing in LA's direction here. Two-way split, but it's come off of 3. Now it's closer to 2. And I would probably not lay it personally with Arizona this week. We are very invested in them in the futures market. But if I could get Arizona under 3, that feels like a decent bet at this point because the Rams I still think are a little discombobulated. But it looks like the Sharps are taking the 3 with LA at this early stage of the week.
Yeah, I got to go Arizona. So the Rams had a get-right game as we predicted. But it was only 1. Arizona's been really consistent. Really consistent. They're a really good team. Hopkins and Murray looked healthy. They're playing at home. Maybe the Rams come out and play great, but I would lean to Arizona. I'm showing them laying 1.5 right now. I would lean to Arizona. I just think they're the better team, and I don't have faith that what we saw from the Rams last week is who they are. I think it's more just them playing the Jaguars. Let's see them do it 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, it's so interesting because nobody wants to talk about Arizona, particularly because you look at the rest of the teams that are in the playoff hunt in the NFC, and they're just sexier squads, right?
Yeah.
Everybody loves to talk about Aaron Rodgers. Everybody loves to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Everybody loves to talk about Tom Brady. Everybody loves to talk about the star-studded Rams. Niners are back in this thing. They're making it in. The Arizona Cardinals are the one team that just haven't wavered.
Not at all.
They just haven't. And that defense is damn good. It is excellent. They are top 4 on both sides of the ball in terms of scoring per game and points allowed per game. And
all the odds makers we talked to this week, guys, they were all consensus when I asked them to rank the NFC teams. Prior weeks, there was some, variance, but every odds maker we talked to had Arizona and Green Bay inside the top 3. Little bit of variance on Tampa Bay, and LA and Dallas consistently outside of the top 3. So odds makers are most confident about Arizona and Green Bay if you want to rank those really good NFC teams. Tampa Bay, a little fluctuation, and Dallas and LA, I think a lot of variance on those two.
One other note that everybody want to perk up on in our little gambling space here, the Cards are 4-0 against the spread against teams in the NFC West this year. Last time I checked, the Rams are still in the NFC West. All right, teaser time. This is the time of the show where Ross doesn't understand that we do this because he's like, haven't we already talked about teasers enough? Are people really not paying attention?
That was spot on.
Okay. But no, I am not paying attention. I'm going all over the place. So, Ross, I need you to, again, give me your teaser so I can write it down and laugh at you.
Yeah, so I have 3 6-point teasers that I'm going to do all of them. I got 3 teaser legs that I will give out a second time. Seattle down to -1 against who they playing? The Texans. They stink. Denver down to -2 playing the Lions. They're not very good. Baltimore +8 against Cleveland, who's offensively challenged.
Yes.
All my teasers came through last week. I have a good feeling about this week as well. Those are your more traditional 6.2 team teasers. Jared, I got to be honest with you. I didn't know much about 10.3 team teasers. I'm intrigued, Jared. I know I've been busting your chops all show, but I am intrigued. If it's still minus 120, that's interesting.
It is minus 120. I do like the 10-point teasers. I think the reason that I like them is the later in the season we go, the market becomes more efficient. Points matter more, especially in lower total games. When the lines are supposed to land where they're supposed to land and you move them 6 points, obviously that's to your advantage. You move them 10, even more so to your advantage. We stick to the same rules. We don't tease through 0. We always try to get through at least 1 or 2 key numbers. In the traditional 6-point teaser, I think those 2 legs that Ross had, those 2 favorites moving them down, are tremendous legs. Seattle down to 1, 1.5, Denver down to 2, 2.5. I think those are going to be your classic teaser legs of the week. Now the 10-pointers, it's not a very sophisticated situation. We're taking 2 big favorites and we're moving them through 3 key numbers, 10, 7, and 3, 3 and 7 being the keyest of the numbers. That's Green Bay and that's the Chargers. And then we're taking a 9.5-point underdog, divisional underdog, the Jaguars, and we're moving it up to 19.5. Again, that's a relatively low total game as well in the mid-40s. So I think with the Titans coming off the bye, not at full strength yet, I think that's a good 3-team 10-point teaser. And note from Jack, if it hits this week, we'll do it again next week. If not, I'm banned from 10-pointers for the rest of the year.
Are you willing to accept that as punishment if it doesn't hit?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Ross, you good with that?
I'm going to not bet them. I'm just going to not give it out on the show.
No, I kind of like it now. I kind of like these 10-point
teasers.
Let's see how he does this week.
We won him over. We won him over this week.
Wow.
Didn't take long.
It's so rare that I'm the one in the worst mood out of the 3 of you. It's really remarkable.
Spicy roast today.
All right, let's get to tonight's game. Really big one for both Pittsburgh and Minnesota. It's up in the Twin Cities. Freezing cold for my friends in Thursday Night Football covering that game. The good news is it's indoors. All right, so the line's been floating around. The Vikings have got some big-time injury issues. We know that Thielen's not playing. Cook, game-time decision, we think, maybe. They're banged up on their line. Pittsburgh got a huge home win. They're getting points on the road. Okay, Ross, you're batting leadoff here.
I like the Steelers. Yeah, I like the Steelers. Vikings are pretty beat up. Look, this goes to my same philosophy we talked about earlier in the show. This is a 50-50 game. This is a toss-up game. Could go either way. So if I can get 3 points, that's a win for me with the Steelers. There's just something about the Pittsburgh Steelers. You just cannot count them out. They find a way late in the year to win games. Don't think they should. They're not going to get blown out. I don't know if the Vikings will bounce back from that despicable loss to the Lions. There's a lot swirling around about Zimmer now on the hot seat. That's not great for the Vikings. So, look, toss-up game. Love what I saw from the Steelers last week defensively. They did get it going in the fourth quarter with Deontay Johnson and the running game, I might add. Najee Harris and Benny Snell. I'll take Pittsburgh getting the 3.
Yeah, I like getting 3 here too. The Thielen injury is very impactful to me. Cook Madison, I think you can, 6 to 1, half dozen the other. Both of those guys have been pretty serviceable. I'm not going to downgrade Minnesota too much for Madison instead of Cook, but I think no Thielen. We've seen when you have 2 really good weapons and you take one away, the defenses they relax a little bit more because now they can double up and they don't have to be as stressed on the back end. And Pittsburgh's defense has been very stressed at times this year. I think they found a little bit of that swag. We talked about Pittsburgh, the proud franchise, losing a little bit of that swag. Well, they found some of it last week. They won a close game in true Steelers fashion by 1 point at the buzzer with a 2-point conversion. That felt like a Steelers kind of win. And I would put stock in them to go on the road and win again this week because I think Minnesota is kind of on the brink right now. When you lose to a team as bad as the Lions, I know it's a bounce back spot, but there's probably some guys in that locker room that are questioning some things right now. How did we lose that game? How did we, play that defense on that last drive? So I think getting 3 with Pittsburgh here is a good way to play it.
You mean how do we backpedal when we're sitting 3 yards deep in the end zone?
I have no idea what that last play call was on defense for Minnesota.
That was atrocious.
That was terrible.
We talk about situational football all the time. You practice it all the time. Football intelligence, FBI, it's very, very important.
I like that. You're saying we're not going to send many of these guys to Quantico occasionally?
I'm saying there's a couple guys for the Vikings that have some splaining to do.
Okay. All right. I will only make this prediction. It's going to be close. The Vikings have played a league-high 11 one-score games. That is remarkable. Pittsburgh has played 8 of them. They are 6-1-1. Those 6 wins tied for the most in the league. So this could be fun this week. All right, let's have a little more fun. Some over-under individual props. Kirk Cousins, Ross Tucker, over-under 249.5 passing yards.
Under, no Thielen.
Jared, Chase Claypool. Turn up your speakers if you can hear me at home. Over-under 52.5 receiving yards.
I've been under on Claypool. He's kind of in the mental doghouse right now after the tweets and all that stuff. I would say under.
Najee Harris, Ross, 72.5 rushing yards.
Ooh.
I'm going to go over. I like what I saw in the second half from the Steelers. They are using Benny Snell, though, a little bit more. I'll go over.
And finally, Justin Jefferson, who is a flat-out stud and fun to watch and seems like he just enjoys football and a really good kid and a super smooth route runner. It's a lot of prefacing by asking Jared over under 90.5 receiving yards.
Oh, that's a tall number. I think without Thielen, I think they focus in on Jefferson. I would say under there. And what is the Eagles GM thinking taking Rieger over Jefferson? Can we talk about that for a second?
No, we don't have time for that one.
Okay.
Sorry. Everybody makes mistakes, for goodness sakes.
That was a bad one, though.
Yeah, that was a really bad one. We should do a show on the worst draft picks by each current GM over the last 5 years. You could have fun with that one. All right, guys, time for our anytime touchdown scores. And yes, it is back. We're giving away $100 to one lucky Pickswise Twitter follower. So you're going to pay attention. Each of these guys are going to pick 2 guys that they think will have a touchdown at any point in tonight's game. If they hit, all you have to do to be eligible is to retweet and follow us. Retweet and follow us. It is so simple. So pay attention right now. We'll alternate. Ross, you get to go first this week.
Yeah, I'm going to go Deontay Johnson for the Steelers. He had 2 last week. Ben is force-feeding this guy. It's hard to cover him. I called my first CBS game ever was Nevada at Toledo. Deontay Johnson took a punt return back to the house. That has absolutely no relevance right now. I just felt like saying it. Deontay Johnson plus 125 for the anytime touchdown.
Call that a humble brag in the business. Humble brag there by Ross. I'm going tight ends this week. I like Freiermuth. I mean, he's been a guy I've gone to a lot when the Steelers have been in these tight, tough games, and I think this is going to be one of those games. I mean, I just think he's a good player, top to bottom, Penn State kid. Love him to death. So I'll go Freiermuth, plus 210. Good odds there, too, for a tight end, over 2-1. The guy that Big Ben goes to a lot.
For the Vikings, KJ Osborne.
Yes.
Plus
I had my eye
290.
on him. Sorry,
Yeah, I mean,
I
listen.
need to get so excited.
They're going to be all over Justin Jefferson. I think Conklin's a pretty good one, too. But they're going to be all over Justin Jefferson without Thielen. Osborne can play. Osborne and Conklin got a bunch of touches last week with Thielen out. So you can take either one. I'll let you take the other one with better odds. Jared, I prefer to give my listeners, mine or viewers, better value, more money.
Well, it doesn't matter. If either one of them hits, they win. So but I'm glad we're on the same page because honestly, if I would have taken another Steeler, it would have been Johnson. And if I would have taken another Viking, it would have been Osborne. So we are on the same page with all 4 of our picks this week. I am going to go Conklin. He had 9 targets last week, 7 catches. And he is the starting tight end on a team that Pittsburgh has struggled at times. Andrews was wide open all over the place on Sunday. He just couldn't catch anything. So I think Conklin's going to get some looks. Probably a good receptions target as well.
So once again, it's very simple. If any of these 4 hit, follow us on Twitter, retweet it. You'll be entered for a chance to win $100, which is pretty good. You know what I whiffed on today? I'll save it right now. I didn't give you guys a little trivia question, and it focuses on the Pittsburgh Steelers. TJ Watt, he has a real good shot of back-to-back sack titles. He would become just the 3rd player to ever do that. Remember, we've been keeping sacks as a statistic only since 1982. Name me the other 2 players to have consecutive sack crowns.
Bruce Smith?
No. Great guess.
Strahan?
Lawrence Taylor. Derek Thomas.
Wow. Reggie White?
Reggie White is one.
Reggie White. That was a tag team.
Aaron Donald.
I will give you one hint. Enthusiastic sack.
Kevin Green.
Good guess.
Junior Seau.
This one will give it away. Joe Klecko, teammate.
Gastineau.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, you could have said sack exchange.
And Jared, by the way, pathetic that you didn't know that as a Jets fan.
I wasn't even alive back then.
Not an excuse. Know the history of your team.
Fair enough.
I saw people at the Jets game Sunday. They had Klecko jerseys on.
I would wear a Klecko. I don't like wearing jerseys, but I would wear an old school Jets jersey. I don't like the new jerseys. I like the green ones better. How
about this? Next week, if your teaser hits, you wear the old school Jets jersey.
I have to buy one. I don't have any. I have a Keyshawn Johnson jersey, actually, that I never wear. Old school.
Yeah,
one.
That's not old school enough.
It's not old school enough. No, but I got it as a gift a while ago.
If you walk in here with a Freeman McNeil,
oh yeah,
then we're talking.
What about Namath? Oh, Altoon. I like that name.
Altoon was a great one.
Yeah.
That's it. If you go Mickey Schuler, then I'm really on board.
Legendary.
Wow, Ross's face lit up on that one.
You got a little tingly inside. There's no question about it. So once again, with the anytime touchdown, follow, retweet if these guys hit on any of those 4 names. And don't forget about subscribing to our YouTube channel. It doesn't mean that you're paying a subscription. It just means you're following us. You get all of our content. Once again, leave your number 1 best bet. Any commenter, if your best bet wins, you'll be eligible to win $100. You'll be eligible. So it's that simple. Guys, this was fun as always. Hard to believe we're getting down the home stretch here. It's unreal. Good luck on your 17-point teaser or whatever the hell that thing is, Jared. I really wish you luck.
17 and a half.
Oh, is that what it is? All right. For our outstanding producer, Jack Harrison, and my guys, Ross Tucker and Jared Smith, I am Chris Rose. We'll see you next time on Pickswise Playbook. Now, go win some dough.